Alrighty, hi everyone. Hope you're having a great time at Confluence, and I apologize that I can't be there. My name is Sarah Marsh, and I'm the Manager of Industry Services with the Department of Tourism and Culture here with the Government of Yukon. So I'm in Whitehorse on the traditional territory of the Tonquachang Council and the Kwanlin Dun First Nations. I wanted to start or give you a bit of a presentation today just to tell you a bit about our sustainable tourism journey. So I thought I would share a couple of slides with you, share some information, and hopefully it helps to foster the conversation there at your meetings. Great. Okay, so let's get us started. So in 2017, the Yukon Territory started out on its first steps towards a sustainable tourism journey. We knew that we had a lot of pressures in a lot of different communities, and we wanted to understand what that meant. We also wanted to understand the different roles and responsibilities of organizations. We wanted to talk to Yukoners to learn what their priorities were or what their concerns were related to tourism. So we started down this path. To get us going, we actually established a steering committee made up of different organizations that are included here on this slide. These organizations really work together to help guide our entire process and get us on our way. The end result was a year-long of engagement with Yukoners, First Nations organizations, tourism businesses, associations, communities, etc., to learn about what all of those pressures were. The final result was the Yukon Tourism Development Strategy that I shared with you folks last year. That strategy set out our goals and vision. It also identified values of Yukoners, which was really amazing. The goals are here on the slide. So we wanted to have a thriving tourism economy, resident support for tourism, and sustainable tourism development. That last one was a bit of something new for us. We had never really understood sustainable tourism development. So what we thought we would start with was identifying a framework, a way to measure or gauge or understand how sustainable or not tourism was here in the territory. What we ended up doing was a ton of research to find out what type of framework, what types of tools were out there that would really help and work here in the territory. We landed on a framework that was established and developed by the United Nations World Tourism Organization. And the reason we chose it was because it was very flexible, it was free, and it really reflected the values of the Yukoners. Historically, we had only measured economic related impacts of tourism, so things like contribution to GDP, number of jobs, revenue attributable to tourism, those sorts of things. And we wanted a framework that helped us be more accountable for our sector. The framework that we established is outlined here on the screen in front of you. It covers a wide variety of different aspects of impacts of tourism. The issues outlined in, or the topics outlined in blue are mandatory for us to measure. And then we identified the issues in green as being important to Yukoners. And we were making efforts to measure things in those sort of buckets or categories. Lee really wanted me to touch on, how do we work with Yukon First Nations? How do we learn about their knowledge, their perspectives? How do we incorporate their data and insights? And I just wanted to touch a bit on that. We really wanted our data to be as inclusive as possible. So for example, we started to work with the Yukon Bureau of Statistics to understand how many businesses in the territory were owned and operated by First Nations people or organizations. We also wanted to understand how many people were going to First Nations related cultural festivals and events. So we started to measure things like that. We also wanted to incorporate data from our First Nations partners. So that means that we are continuing to work now. Everything that you see isn't perfect and all dialed in. It's a work in progress for us. But we plan to create data sharing agreements with First Nations partners, organizations, cultural centers, et cetera, to really understand and really have a really good mutual exchange of information. We also wanted to understand and include traditional knowledge in our work. This means that we're making an effort to look beyond typical scientific evidence and information and really learn from First Nations partners about what they're seeing, what they know, and what it means. And finally, we wanted to continue building our relationships with and fostering relationships with our First Nations partners. We do this in our daily work, but we really wanted to formalize it and continue it. So that is a really important aspect of the things that we measure and how we measure them. So here, I just wanted to give you a snapshot of sort of where we are today. So as you can imagine, it's difficult in the Yukon to figure out, what are the impacts of tourism on water, wastewater, solid and hazardous waste. There's aspects of our framework that we haven't quite dialed in yet, but this framework really allows us to make commitments to work towards those things. So what we have done is we're just in the process of publishing our first annual report, and it will include metrics from the areas that you see in front of you that we currently have data on. There's still work going on behind the scenes to work with people, experts, whomever, to build tools to start to understand tourism's impacts that have sort of that we haven't been able to capture yet. In addition, we have worked to develop a dashboard, so we want to share our data and information publicly. The intention there is to put information out in the world. It's also intended to start conversations, to get people thinking about, what are we doing really well in tourism? How is tourism working well to enhance our communities and enhance our quality of life and ensure that visitors have a good time? But also, what are some of the pressure points? Where are areas of things that we may need to work together to address? So our dashboard is meant to be a tool to facilitate those conversations. And this is something I really wanted to share. We get this question all of the time. How do you know whether or not tourism is sustainable in the Yukon? The answer to that question is that we will never know. The United Nations has really made it clear to us that achieving sustainable tourism is a continuous process. It requires constant monitoring of impacts, introducing the necessary preventative and/or corrective measures wherever necessary. This means that our framework will really just give us metrics over time. We will be able to see where are the pressure points, what's going well, and where are things that we need to address. So that is, there's no sustainability score, but we will be sort of working towards mitigating negative impacts of tourism and enhancing positive impacts. I also wanted to share with you today just some ideas of how we are trying to bring sustainable tourism to life. So from the research standpoint, we really want to understand our visitors. Who are they? Where are they from? What are they doing while they're here, etc. So for the past year, we have had interviewers literally out on the highways, pulling vehicles over and interviewing visitors as they leave the territory. We also have interviewers at some of our airports, and they're learning about our visitors' trip while they were here. We'll get some visitor spend information, so we'll be able to get those insights. Where did they travel? How did they travel? We've asked them what types of vehicles they were traveling in, just trying to get some more insight on the impacts. We also are working with our Bureau of Statistics to conduct a resident perceptions of tourism survey. You'll remember from our earlier slide that we really want to know, we really want residents, to have a positive perception of tourism. So we work with our Bureau, and every 2 years we conduct a survey of Yukoners. The survey questions give us a real sense of whether tourism is good or not for the Yukon, but then we also dive a bit deeper to learn what is going actually really well and what is not going well. Luckily for us, about 91% of Yukoners feel that tourism is good for the Yukon. So that is really great news for us. We've also done some work with our tourism sector. We know that travelers need information right now, and we know that information, especially coming out of the pandemic, changes from moment to moment. Things, travel and your ability to travel or the situation of a community can change very quickly. So what we wanted to do was work with our sector to enhance their digital presence. We started by conducting a digital audit. So we looked at tourism businesses' websites, their social media presence, their interaction with guests. Do they have, are they responding to review sites? Are they sending out newsletters to their clients, etc.? And then we also assessed a bit of their digital marketing strategies. The intention of this, of course, is to learn where is our sector at? And the intention of after that is to develop programs and services to support the enhancement of digital presence. We developed a program to help with this. It was called Go Digital Yukon. We started it last year and we're continuing it this year, but we're partnering with an organization outside of Vancouver, and they are called eLearning U. With them, we are being able to offer our sector webinars very specific to digital presence. We've developed a digital toolkit, and we're able to facilitate one-on-one coaching between our sector and digital experts. In January 2023, we hosted our very first Go Digital Tourism Summit, where we actually brought experts into the same room as our tourism businesses and tried to facilitate some learning and some networking. We're planning to do that again in January, so if you're a Yukon business, stay tuned and I hope you can attend. In addition, one of my favorite things that we have been working on this year and that we launched was the Community Tourism Destination Development Fund. This is a $1 million fund that will support sustainable tourism projects. There are two tiers. One is for projects up to $100,000, and then the second tier is for projects up to $500,000. The difference with this particular fund is that, of course, we want to make sure that our investments support the business or the organization that's receiving this funding, but we want that investment to also benefit the community. So when people apply for the fund, they really have to demonstrate how the project or initiative that they want to do will not only help them, but how it will help or impact positively the community that they are in. We also really want to foster and support innovative partnerships and community building. So the more partners that you have with your project, or the more involved you are, whether it's through letters of support or actual partnership, the stronger your application will be. The last thing I wanted to share with you is a program that we launched last year called Rugged Apprentices. Last year we had 3 towns participate in this event, and we had 33 volunteers from across Canada come to the Yukon for 4 days to help work and volunteer in our communities to help undertake some enhancements to community and visitor infrastructure. So our volunteers this says 2023, but it was 2022. They went to Dawson City, Carmacks, and Watson Lake. They helped improve community trail systems. They built a disc golf course, and they enhanced signpost forest in Watson Lake. Through this volunteerism project, we had a lot of cultural exchange happening. All of the communities led these experiences. So they actually hosted the visitors. They had to identify accommodations, meals, transportation in the territory, and of course, a visitor experience. We didn't want our volunteers just working hard the entire time and not really having time to enjoy the community. So our community partners had to develop that itinerary for our visitors. We had some amazing results. Visitors that participated in the program actually wanted to move here. We didn't expect that, but it was a really great outcome from our initiative. We also had really proud locals, and it was amazing to see the relationships that were built between the residents and the visitors. We had approximately 350 applications in our first week launching our campaign, and so we had to close everything down and sort of narrow things down. We had over 800,000 impressions and 10,000 clicks on our content. And not only did the visitors have a great time, but they ended up staying longer. They also recommended the experience to their friends. And like I mentioned, quite a few of them expressed interest in moving here, and one actually did. So that's really great. In terms of our community partner satisfaction, 100% of them were in and wanted to participate again. We launched the program again this year. We did a call for projects from communities. This time we had 5 communities step forward. And this year they restored community garden beds, enhanced the safety and playability of a disc golf course. They fire smarted around houses in Mayo, which was affected by wildfire this year. They improved a First Nations owned campground in Tagish, and they've enhanced a community park and trail network in Teslin. Super exciting stuff. So here's just some photos of our Rugged Apprentices working alongside community members. There was a community concert in Carmacks. They had some really great experiences. And it was just really fantastic overall. All right. I think that is it for me. I hope I've, given you a quick snapshot on how we can take metrics and information and turn it into really successful programs, services, and projects. I hope you have a really great time at Confluence. Enjoy the rest of your event. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, feel free to do so. Lee has my contact information, and I hope you have a great rest of your conference.
Perfect. Wait, why is it still recording?